in order to be effective, you've got to master two contexts. You have to be able to deal with the outer world effectively and produce results and manage and have healthy relationships in that outer world. And you also have to manage what's going on inside you. The stuff going on in your head, as one of my students says, like, okay, like help me manage the stuff in my head. And ideally, you have to do it in real time. I like to think about, okay, the phone is ringing and it is the colleague that you hate the most in this world, and you start to have an emotional reaction to it. Knowing that you're an introvert and that one of your top 5 strengths is strategy is not going to help you in that moment, because either you want to throttle this person or run out of the room or let it go to voicemail, right? So this conversation is about dealing with the actual lived reality of what people deal with. And what people deal with is that we have a nervous system that will respond to challenge in one of 3 ways, and it will always be one of these 3 ways. One is that the red zone, where we go into protect or defense or attack mode. I think in an office context, it's usually like frustration is the most commonly experienced red zone moment. And then there's something which you can think about as the blank zone, whereas if the red zone is there's too much energy and I'm in a place of either aggression or escape or attack, the blank zone is not enough energy, right? It's a kind of emptiness or withdrawal or collapse. I don't want to see people. The world just seems too much. And then there's the green zone, which gets us to this story about vitality, which is like where we're alive. The idea of vital people vitalized comes from Joseph Campbell, the great mythologist, who, I think everybody knows Joseph Campbell from the follow your bliss comment. But my favorite Joseph Campbell quote is vital people vitalize. Learning how to be vital, how to be fully alive is something that we can all aspire to. Once you start to look at not only your life in terms of, okay, what's the vitality I'm bringing, but the workplace. Are we vital? That's something like only 1/3 of American workers say that they're engaged in their work. Okay, 2/3 of us are not feeling vital. In Japan, it's like 95% of people are not feeling vital. That vitality has no upper limit. And I think that is a far more powerful framework than, say, like managing stress. So if I ask the question, okay, how can I be less stressed? Then I've already assumed I'm going to be stressed. But if I ask the question, how can I be vital and how can we be vital together? Then it's an open field. There's no, as I said, there's no upper limit to that. And I think you get into a far more creative, innovative place, and life can be more joyful, frankly. To take it back to leadership, right? That the idea of well-being here is not just my well-being or an individual's well-being. It's about how much vitality and well-being are we experiencing together. And that it is very often the case that the leader and the quality of energy they're bringing to their work sets the emotional and energetic tone for the group. And so the vitality of the leader becomes, I think, an essential component to that. What happens is that the leader becomes vitalizing and that their green zone becomes the green zone of the organization, but not just that, the organization's stakeholders and contractors and partners. And what happens in that situation is that you have these nonlinear transformative effects that produce results that nobody could have predicted in the beginning. I think how most organizations have approached the notion of well-being is really at the most surface level, at some level, right? And so it's like, how do you lower your blood pressure and cholesterol number? And so it's a very personalized, individualized thing. It's hard to, in a world of interconnectedness, well-being is not just about my well-being. Well-being is about our well-being, which is why I emphasize like the social nature of leadership. And it's not just about wellness, it's about being. Like, what's the quality of my being? Who am I being when I'm facing the world? Am I in my red zone when I'm facing the world? Like, or am I doing my best to be vital? That isn't to say that even in the Hunter household, we don't, binge watch episodes of Star Trek. So you get to be human. But the thing is, I think there is having a conscious and active relationship with what is good in your world, which I think is incredibly easy to take for granted or think is trivial. We over focus on what's going wrong. And I think what I've learned both from my own life, but also watching these leaders transform themselves, is there a conscious, concerted, regular effort to focus on what's going well and putting that as the center.